Hello everybody, it's VVX Game Lord, and this isn't a gameplay video, I know, but I wanted to actually talk about a little system that I came up with. I've seen things like power scalings and character, or like creation things and overall scaling for characters and their powers, but I wanted to do something unique. Specifically, hold on a second. Had to grab this. Sorry, I forgot to grab something. Okay, as I was saying, I've created my own sort of power grid scaling system for characters that anyone can use, and I'm going to go over it for you. Okay, so first thing you'll notice is this, the classic power grid graph, going from tier 1 to 13. Yes, tier 13 is off the scales kind of level. And each of these dots is where you measure it. So yeah, it's the little color bar graph scale web thing. And you fill this up with color, and the higher up it goes towards one of these is how high level it is, with the end line and dot being level 13. So for instance, this dot is for defense, utility, mobility. Up here is creativity, damage, control, adaptability, and healing. So, yeah, based off of this system, and quick note, this isn't the only system. My character power scaling and overall stat graph system is based off of, well, measuring it based off of multiple things and tying all these things together. This is just one small part, and you do this after you measured everything else. Another thing is up here. You put in the character's name here, racial classes, what species they are, and racial advantages, stuff like that. Like elves, their, resistance to poisons, and their longer lifespans, all that stuff. And this right here is their racial advantages, the things I just mentioned. Job classes, yes, this is based off of the Overlord show's aspects for this part, but there are many other things that aren't, and we'll get into some of them. Right here are strengths and weaknesses. Yes, that's also based off of, Shadow of Mordor. This is just a main system for measuring characters as accurately as possible and scaling their power. For here, there's stats, sort of like Fallout New Vegas, but with a few extra things, so it's not just the special stats, it's a few extra stuff. And I also put tiers. So when you actually put in, like, say, a number from 1 to 10, you also have to take into account these. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, and Tier 4, and you have to put in the color of which tier those numbers are applying in. So, for instance, a Tier 10 on green would be like the max Tier 10 on Fallout New Vegas. The max, base human strength. Then when you get into orange, you get into superhuman strength. When you get into gold, demigod strength, and purple, god level strength. So yeah, and you put in the color, and then from 1 to 10, a number for the corresponding stat. So strength, perception, endurance, intelligence, agility, luck, charisma, will, intimidation, reflexes, stamina, and speed. All these things. And this is just the first page of my character stat graphing system. And remember, this thing you fill up after you filled up everything else and cross-analyzed everything. This is more of something that characters that go in-depth into character analysis and power scaling can use, as well as people like the game theorist, because I saw his video where he talked about, the Kool-Aid Man's power level and stuff, and used the Marvel power scaling system, and that's kind of what inspired me to make this, but it's obviously a more accurate and detailed power scaling system. Anyways, this right here is natures and special traits. This is another feature that can be helpful. Then there's also items and equipment, which can also apply to weapons. So weapons, items, and equipment can be listed here. Powers and abilities listed here. Yes, these are just empty boxes because this is more like a flavor text thing, so you can just list everything down properly. Obviously, depending on the character, the proper description would be a lot longer than what can be filled in here. That's why somebody should probably transfer this to digital so you can fill these up more without as much limitations. Then skills as another category. Then there's a basic description, history, lore, overall description of the character and their history in life. And then there's this. And then there's the controversial one, the D&D alignment system. Now, before you get into it, I've actually made my own improved version of the D&D alignment system. I have not finished it. There are still 2 systems I want to add to mine before we get into it, and I'll show you it afterwards. But put it simply, there's neutral good, lawful neutral, chaotic good, lawful neutral, neutral, chaotic neutral, lawful evil, neutral evil, and chaotic evil. These are not the final colors. The final colors that are properly representation of the alignments that I used are on the actual other page that I'm, working on. And I would recommend using my other page, for the alignments and my little, graph system for scaling whether or not someone's good or evil and all of that, which I'll get into in either